Welcome and thank you for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Evidently, you're unaware. I am your host, Andrea, also known as the Successful Diva, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm always grateful when you're here because I know when you're in this space and I am in this space, two things are going to happen. I'm going to share some information that's relevant. And number two, it will make you more aware of some area, issue, topic, person, something that is to enhance a better decision making opportunity for you. So thank you so much. If you are a subscriber to this channel, I welcome you back. And if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so that you are aware of when something new is coming forth during this platform and on this platform in this space. So without further ado, let's get smarter. Don't know if you are aware, and if not, here we are. That's why we're here today. The primaries are coming. The primary elections are coming, and they are happening all across this country. Let me tell you, Alaska, Connecticut, Guam, Hawaii, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Tennessee, Vermont, the Virgin Islands, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and yes, I did not forget about the Sunshine State, Florida. The primaries are coming. And let me tell you, August is the most, at least this August, 2026, is the second most consequential month of voting, immediately preceding the month of November this year, which is the most consequential month of voting. It definitely, in many of our lifetimes, there's always this, kind of faux pas about talking about this election is more important than the one before. And if you've never voted before, this is the one. Listen, every election is important. Every single election is important, but I think that the stakes are clearly higher in this current election. So what are we going to do is talk about the primaries tonight, and I want to help you prepare to be ready to vote so that you let no one or nothing stop you from casting your vote. It is your superpower. So Florida voters and all the states that I just named, I need for you to know that you have to have a plan of action. You've got to have a plan of action. Vote by mail is an area I want to focus on here quickly. And I want you also to know that there is a lot of suppression, not just showing up to vote. There is much suppression as it relates to being able to vote by mail, but I want you to be encouraged and not discouraged, because ultimately having that ballot in your hand to have an opportunity to go through the candidates, the ballot measures, the judicial seats, the state legislatures, all the things that are going to occur in the August primaries across this country are important for you to have something to look at before you show up to vote. And I'm going to talk about a few of those benefits here shortly. So what are those benefits of receiving a ballot by mail before an election? Here they are. I just named the top 5 that I think are the most beneficial, but there are so many benefits to receiving your ballot by mail. Number 5, I should say, opportunity to view and research all candidates, ballot initiatives, etc. Don't wait until you show up to vote to find out you don't know who a person is, or in our local election, when there's not a D or an R or an NPA next to their name, you don't know what party they're affiliated with. Do the research, and having that ballot in hand, particularly when there are amendments and other things on the ballot that you need to answer. Are you for it or against it? You need research. And having the ballot is like having the answers, or at least a sneak peek, like a cheat sheet, before you go into the booth, if you still choose to vote by mail. And I'm going to cover that here shortly. Number 4, avoid long lines and the uncertainty of work hours or any unknown illnesses on election day. My gosh, this is not the time for you to get frustrated, for you to get caught in traffic, for you to be ill, your children to be ill. Something happens on election day that you can't show up, and you have no idea who's on the ballot because you didn't receive a ballot by mail, so you can't even run in and run out if you wanted to. Avoid those lines and that hassle. Get your ballot in the mail. Don't trust the postal system. Maybe that's you. You don't trust the postal system because, all the whatever is out there that talks about ballots and, not being counted and all that. Guess what? Here's the answer to that. Get your ballot in the mail, complete it, and deliver it in person directly to the local courthouse or the supervisor of elections office. You can do that. You don't have to send it back. Although there is a postage paid envelope with your ballot, you can still drop it off in person yourself. Number 2, any signature discrepancies can be cured before election day. So let's say you mail your ballot back and your signature changed. You've gotten a little older now. Maybe you're writing with your left hand now versus your right hand. Whatever that is, if there are any signature discrepancies, having that ballot in your hand and maybe sending it back early, you can be notified in time that you need to cure that signature. I've had that happen in my family personally. We had time to cure it, and his ballot was counted. Here's the number one reason of receiving the ballot by mail. If you're still unsure, you can still choose to vote in person on election day as long as you have not returned your mail ballot. So let's not talk about, I don't want to vote by mail, all of that. You can still show up. Nothing's prohibiting you from voting voting in person unless you've already returned the ballot. So get that mail ballot. You must know who you're voting for. Dead stop. We can no longer guess. This is not about just checking the box. You have to know. There are people out there, believe it or not in your best interest, and you owe it to everyone in your community, city, county, state, and this country to vote for people who have your best interests at heart. Top 5 important reminders for the August primary election. Number 5, make sure you have a valid and current picture and signature ID. This is even more so important if you're going to vote in person. Valid and current picture and signature. All of it must match. When you sign it in person, it's got to match what you've signed on file with the SOE. You have to have a valid and current picture and signature ID. Number 4, know the location polling place. If you do not know, several location polling places have changed. You may need to go to votepinellas.gov. That's Pinellas County, Clearwater, Florida, St. Pete, etc. But your state, for those who are listening, my listeners out of state or in other areas, be sure that you go to your county's government site and find your local polling places. With all of the gerrymandering and redistricting and foolishness going on, you may not be voting in the same location as you did 2 years ago even. Know that place. Has your signature changed? Already talked about it. Visit the SOE office and submit an updated voter registration form so that your signature can get updated. I know sometimes you may just say maybe you thought you signed with your middle initial, but now you don't. Though that's a signature change. If you signed with a middle initial before and now you don't, or vice versa, you didn't before and now you do, that's a signature change. You need to update your signature. Your address is the same concept. If you had an address change, you need to update it. That address on file is not matching your address on your ID current. You're going to have a problem voting. Number 1, reminder, the August primary elections in many other states, but in particularly Florida, is Tuesday, August 18th. Who's on the ballot in the August primaries? Governor, lieutenant governor, U.S. Senate seats, U.S. House of Representatives, Florida State Legislature, House and Senate, Florida State Executive offices like the Chief Financial Officer, judges, local races and ballot measures, local meaning your city council, all, especially in Florida, because that's new. for Pinellas County, particularly where the city council races are now aligned with the August primary. That was not the case until this last recent measure was voted in. All of that's on the ballot. It's going to be a full ballot, full house. You need to have time to know what you're voting for, know who you're voting for, and more importantly, know why you're voting for them. Again, Tuesday, August 18th, Florida, primary election day. Here are some dates. Monday, July 20th, that's soon, deadline to register to vote in the primary election or change party affiliation. There's been some commentary about that because NPAs cannot vote. Florida is a closed primary state. Many states are. If you're not in one of the two, I won't say top, if you're not in one of the two Democratic or Republican parties, you cannot vote in the primary for the persons in those seats. You can still vote for ballot measures. You can still vote for local city council races. You can still vote for judges, any of those things that are nonpartisan. But let's say you had a favorite Democratic candidate that's running for governor, and you are an NPA listed on file. You cannot vote for that person. You'd have to hope and wait till they pass the August primary and then vote in the general election. That's as simple as I can put that. Feel free to reach out to me at Andrea@strategicblueprint.info. That's my email, Andrea@strategicblueprint.info. If you have more questions on what I mean by changing party affiliation, and let's say you just want to do that because you do want to vote for someone in particular in the primary, you then, if need be, change your affiliation back to the party of your choice after the primary. But to do that, you must be registered to vote and or change that party affiliation by Monday, July 20th. Thursday, August 6th, this is the deadline to request a ballot by mail. Now, let me give you my 2 cents on this. I personally think Thursday, August 6th is a little tight. So if you are waiting to request a ballot by mail, do so before Thursday, August 6th, because remember, you've got to get the request in. It has to show up at your home. You probably will only have the choice at that point to drop it back off in person. That would be the time I may not suggest that you rely on the postal system because the primary is August 8th and your ballot must be postmarked before that date. So long story short, if you're waiting up until that deadline, be prepared to drop that ballot off in person. And I just put a little note for those of you who have had vote by mail requests where your ballots show up to you at home. That request expired January 1st, 2025. Every 2 years now, thank you, Florida. Every 2 years, your ballot request to get it mailed to you expires. There is no more like automatic. I grew up in the era where all I had to do was kind of check box the back of the voting envelope and said, yes, I want to continue receiving my ballot by mail. That no longer exists. Every 2 years, you must renew that request. Please do so by contacting your local supervisor of elections office. Saturday to Sunday, August 8th through the 16th is the early voting period where polls will be open all day, Saturday to Sunday, August 8th through the 16th. Not polls. Let me correct that. Certain areas, and I will one day come back here soon with those areas. Hours have not yet been posted, at least not here in Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections, but just know that the window for early voting is August 8th through the 16th. So please hear me good. That's the window, Saturday to Sunday. Hours have not yet been posted, and I will at some point come back and share those early voting sites. But rest assured, one will be your supervisor of elections office. Again, have I said it enough? I'll say it one more time. Tuesday, August 18th is primary election day. Tuesday, August 18th is primary election day. Please do not forget to have a plan to vote. Do not forget to have a plan to vote. It is going to be essential that you do, because this time and this space, in this moment, there is too much at stake. So Before I close this episode of Evidently You're Unaware, I want to say this. I need you to pay attention and hear me good. Your community, your county, your city, your state, and your country cannot afford for you to be like the 89,278,948 people who did not vote in the 2024 general election. If you were in that number, hear me good, you should have witnessed and experienced, along with the rest of us, by now, enough for you to make a different decision in this upcoming primary election season. You should have experienced enough, along with us, by now, to make a different decision for the November general election. And GDI, that doesn't stand for good and dog and intimate. GDI, every election thereafter, from here on out, you can no longer afford not to vote. That right is being jeopardized and literally placed on the chopping block in every which way possible. And if they have their way, that will no longer, the voting will be one day an obsolete option. None at all. And so let me say this one more time too. Hear me good. To the 77,303,573 people who voted for the hashtag 34 count convicted felon, the same statement applies to you. You should have seen and witnessed enough, experienced enough by now to make a different decision. Anything tethered to the vote you gave to that felon, make a different decision. You've got a chance. August primaries are coming. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the podcast, Evidently You're Unaware. I am your host, Andrea. Email me. Here, I love hearing from my subscribers or people who just want to hear something, see something. Andrea at strategicblueprint.info. Hit me up on my YouTube channel. That's where this podcast airs, at Evidently You're Unaware. And follow me on Blue Sky at thesuccessfuldiva.bsky.social, and on TikTok, where my handle is at EYU Podcast. Thanks once again. God bless. Go vote. It's important. Non-negotiable.